At some point during the later seasons of Bitchin Rides, fans started asking a question that nobody at Kindig-It Design was directly answering. Schiele, the man they called KevDogg, the shop foreman who had been Dave Kindig's right hand since 2004, seemed to be appearing less and less. Comments started piling up online. Threads appeared. People who had watched the show from the very beginning were wondering the same thing. Where did Kevin go? The assumption many viewers made was understandable. In the world of automotive reality television, a reduced on-screen presence usually means one thing: somebody left, a falling out, a contract dispute, a decision made behind closed doors that the audience wasn't invited to know about. With Kevin, that story seemed to fit. The buildup of rumors, the questions, the speculation, it had the shape of a departure. There was just one problem. Schiele never left. That is the answer to the question fans have been asking. But understanding what actually happened, and why people were so convinced something had gone wrong, requires going back much further than most viewers realize. It requires going back to 2004, to a shop floor in Salt Lake City, Utah, and to a friendship that shaped one of the most recognized builds in custom car television. Schiele arrived at Kindig-It Design in 2004, and he did not walk through the door as a stranger. By multiple accounts, he and Dave Kindig already had a history. In one episode, Dave told a crew member directly, "Do you think I would trust Kev for this if we didn't go way back?" That kind of trust is not built quickly in the custom car world. What Kevin brought to the shop was specific. His primary expertise was chassis and suspension work, the technical discipline that determines whether a custom car actually drives the way it looks. Anyone can lower a vehicle. Getting the geometry right on a car that sits 3 inches off the ground, making it drivable, keeping the handling predictable, that is a different skill entirely. Kevin was the person at Kindig-It who had to take Dave's drawings, which often pushed past what seemed physically possible, and figure out how to make them real. By the time the shop had grown to fill a 27,000 square foot facility in Salt Lake City, Kevin held the highest position in the company after the Kindig family members themselves. Dave's wife serves as vice president. Their children, Bailey and Drew, both hold roles within the company. Kevin sits just below that tier, managing a crew of engineers, fabricators, electrical specialists, bodywork experts, and upholsterers. More than 40 people work at Kindig-It Design. Kevin is the one who keeps them moving. That context matters because it tells you exactly how the television show was structured when it launched in September 2014. Bitchin Rides premiered on the Velocity channel on September 3, 2014. The format was straightforward. Dave and his team take on a client's car, design a build, and execute it under deadline. What made the show different from other automotive restoration programs was the level of craftsmanship involved. These were not simple restorations. Kindig-It Design was building cars that would go on to win major awards at national shows. Kevin's role on camera mirrored his role in the shop. Dave was the face, the designer, the one meeting clients and presenting concepts. Kevin was the enforcer, the person making sure the work actually happened, that deadlines were respected, and that the team stayed on task. His personality fit the role. He was direct, had a sharp sense of humor, and carried himself with the kind of confidence that comes from 20 years of knowing exactly what you're doing. For the first several seasons, the two of them functioned as co-anchors of the show. Dave designed, Kevin executed. The dynamic was clear and the audience responded to it. Bitchin Rides became Motor Trend's most popular series. The show was doing well enough that Motor Trend began expanding the franchise. In 2015, a companion program called Beyond Bitchin Rides aired, featuring Dave and Kevin revisiting past builds and sharing behind-the-scenes stories. Then, in late 2019, Motor Trend announced a second spin-off, a competition series called Bitchin Bootcamp, with Kevin and Dave serving as co-hosts. The series premiered on March 14, 2020, and ran for 8 episodes. Its premise was built on Kevin's credibility as much as Dave's. 8 contestants competed for one job at the shop. Kevin, as shop foreman, was the standard they had to meet. That is not the resume of someone on his way out. So where did the perception come from that Kevin had stepped back? Part of the answer lies in how Bitchin Rides evolved as a production. In the earlier seasons, the show leaned heavily on the two-person dynamic between Dave and Kevin. As the series continued and expanded, the editing shifted to give more camera time to individual crew members, fabricators, upholsterers, engineers. The shop had always employed a large team, but the later seasons made that clearer on screen. When the focus widened, Kevin's share of the frame naturally narrowed. There is also a practical reality that often gets lost in fan discussions about reality television. What gets filmed and what gets aired are not the same thing. Kevin was running a shop floor with more than 40 employees, often juggling multiple builds under simultaneous production deadlines. The work that he was doing, managing the human and mechanical infrastructure of a high-volume custom shop, is not inherently telegenic. The camera follows the drama. And on a well-run shop floor managed by someone who has been doing this for 2 decades, there is less chaos to film. What viewers noticed, in other words, was not Kevin's absence from the shop. It was his partial absence from the edited television version of the shop, which is a meaningfully different thing. There is one detail from Kevin Schiele's personal life that most viewers missed entirely, and it actually tells you something about who he is away from the cameras. In November 2018, at the SEMA show in Las Vegas, one of the largest automotive trade events in the United States, Kevin proposed to his girlfriend, Melanie K. Neff. The engagement was not announced on the show. It did not make the episode that season. The way it became publicly known was through a congratulatory post from Dave Kindig on Instagram. Kevin himself kept it quiet, consistent with how he had always handled his personal life. Melanie works professionally in public relations, specifically in the automotive space. Kevin was already deeply embedded in that world. The engagement reflected a private dimension to his life that the show had never really explored, and that he appeared to have no interest in changing. The fact that Kevin chose to get engaged at SEMA, surrounded by the car culture that defined his career, and then said almost nothing about it publicly, tells you something about the gap between the version of Kevin Schiele that existed on camera and the person who was actually running the floor at Kindig-It Design every day. He was not performing for the audience. He was doing the job. By the time Bitchin Rides reached its 11th season in 2025, the situation was clear. Kevin Schiele remained listed as a cast member for season 11, which premiered on March 12, 2025. He attended SEMA 2025 in November of that year and brought his own build, a personal project, a slammed custom Chevy Suburban, which he showcased alongside Kindig-It's professionally built vehicles. That detail matters. A man bringing his own custom build to SEMA is not someone who stepped away from the craft. It is someone who never separated the work from the life. Kevin's online presence under the handle @Bitchin KevDogg continued to document his involvement in the automotive community. His LinkedIn profile still lists him as shop foreman at Kindig-It Design. According to ZoomInfo's professional records, his colleagues at the company include David Kindig, Jason Pringle, Valerie Gillies, and others who have been part of the operation for years. The question fans were asking, what happened to Kevin Schiele, had a simpler answer than anyone expected. Nothing happened. He was there. He had been there. He was still there. The show had changed around him. The editing had shifted. The franchise had expanded. And somewhere in all of that, viewers lost track of a man who had never actually gone anywhere. That is a different kind of story than the one most people assumed. It is also in some ways more interesting, because it says something real about the relationship between a television production and the actual business it is supposed to be documenting. Kevin Schiele is not a television character who lost his storyline. He is a shop foreman who kept running his shop while a television show filmed around him. The Kevin Schiele story is ultimately about the difference between visibility and presence. He never left Kindig-It Design. He never publicly fell out with Dave Kindig. He kept managing the floor, kept developing builds, kept showing up at SEMA, and kept doing the kind of work that does not always translate easily into a 60-minute episode of television. As of 2025, Kevin remains part of both the company and the show. Season 11 of Bitchin Rides is currently airing on Motor Trend, and Kevin is listed in the season's cast. The shop that he has helped run for over 20 years is still operating out of its 27,000 square foot facility in Salt Lake City, still building cars that go to major shows, and still carrying the name that Dave Kindig built it around. If you have been watching Bitchin Rides since the beginning, you know how rare that kind of stability is in the reality television world. Most shows cycle through cast members. Most long-running crews develop documented conflicts. At Kindig-It Design, the same two people who were on screen together in 2014 are still there in 2025. The question was never whether Kevin left. The more interesting question is why so many viewers were convinced that he had, and what that tells us about the gap between a TV show and the real operation behind it. Do you think reduced screen time in a later season is enough to write someone out of the story they've spent 20 years building? Or is that just a sign of how much we sometimes confuse the camera with the truth?